our parents and grandpa, he tells many stories about the follow up the tradition, how we grew up. At one time he said, this gentleman is hungry, lives in a village. So he took his bow and arrow and started going hunting. So this gentleman, he will walk up a little hill, it's gonna rest up a little bit, had a little water and close his eyes, and all of a sudden a little wind come. On that little hill there's a lot of tall grass like this. With the wind the grass started moving, like the grass is dancing. So he's staring at it, and in that grass, all of a sudden I see a spiritual man dancing within the grass. So he went back to the camp, told his family, let's get some grass. Took the grass, a bunch of grass, and the sinews threaded, all put it in place, like lacing it and then thread it, and he made an outfit, put him on in the outfit. The gentleman put on his grass, turned to outfit, he started dancing. And in English they call it grass dance.
Like a river through the mountains, a western wind that feeds the flame. There's a song within the city, makes me proud.
Dagunchawa Umbel Wishte, Miach Wagia Wea Wishte, Minitni Wea. My name is Teresa Snow, and my traditional names are Pretty Eagle Woman and Cold Water Woman, and I live here in Minithni, Morley, Alberta. I've been beading quite a long time, since I was about 8. My sister was dancing and making regalia, and so I wanted to learn, so I started beading, and I wanted this outfit one summer, and my parents were like, well, if you want to dance and do these things, they would get me outfits, but then they said at some point you have to learn. When I had my coming of age, my aunt had me with her, and so I learned how to make the moccasins, and then as I learned different pieces of the outfit. When I was 15, I made my own outfit. I was so proud of it and everything. It was, when I look at it now, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, just a lot of learning with it, but probably about 40 plus years. So, yeah. So this is where I try to keep everything. I have like my ribbons, my applique work that I'll cut out and then have for a future project. In here we have a lot of medicine and stuff that we collect. So this is sage that we got out here this last summer, and cedar and different things. And so that's for our own selves, but also too we'll share it with others. I like to gather and harvest my own plants if I can, and dyes if I can. And so I like using the more traditional technique method of quill work. I like using seed beads, which are one of the first beads that came over. I like using cut beads, which are more contemporary, but not as much. And the different techniques, there's so many different sewing techniques, beading techniques, and sewing too as well, to hand sew, to applique, to make star quilts, patchwork. Also, I think too, dreaming as an art, because a lot of my work comes from dreaming, or dreams that I've had that carry through my hands into creation. This we found at thrifting, and so it's more vintage material, and this print will probably be harder to find, and so I'm going to use it for a breechcloth. So for my grandson Wakia, for him, because it's a warrior dancing, we'd call this a kichita, or warriors, and so that I'll probably make for him. I have like all my ribbon here. I got to fix this. This isn't even all of it. Ribbons weren't they weren't original or historic, but if you look at a Northern Plains lady's traditional dress, she had beaded rows of beadwork or quill work going along the bottom of her dress, and that was like the lifeline. And so then I equated that to, so instead we can use the ribbon as that lifeline for us now. So that's how I explain it. And it's still traditional way of doing things, but with Western supports. I try to get all the different colors if I can, which means more shopping, but it depends on what the person wants, what they order, or what I feel creative to make or what I'm inspired to make, I like using a lot of rainbow color in my work. The skirts here that I have, my ribbon skirts. Some I've made, some I was gifted. I won one in a raffle. This one here on top is the last one I just made with the horses and the teepee. More quills here. These ones are more red. And so that was the color I was trying to get, but I couldn't really get it with those ones. But this one we used red dye, and over the summer we had picked strawberries too down along our area here below the hill. We have lots of strawberries that came out this year. And so then we dyed it with the strawberries and the dye, and we got this dye from it. And so now this summer I want to pick more strawberries because I want to get more of this dye again. Quilling is a traditional art form of our people, and we would use it to help make designs, and in that way it's a part of our identity and belonging. So you would be able to identify somebody and their status within the community by the amount of quill work that they had on their person, on their regalia, or it might be as a gift too. It might be a way as of agreement, and so it was used in various different modalities. And so the quill work, the quills come from the porcupine. And so when you use the quills, you would wash them, clean them out, and then they're very pointy on each edge of them. So then you cut them, and then there's air inside, the air comes out, and you can dye them with the different dyes depending on what color you have or what you have in mind for what you're going to make. You would wet it in your mouth, and the act of the saliva, having it in your mouth, would soften it, but it would also help it to bend. And as you're weaving it, you're either wrapping it around or using a threaded needle to tack it down. And so there's different techniques with that. There's a wrap technique, there's a zigzag technique, there's various weaving techniques as well too with quill work. It's a more traditional, authentic style of Indigenous work. This is my daughter's top. When she wanted to start dancing, she had a favorite book she would read, and it was about the Big Dipper. And so this top tells the story about the Big Dipper, and it's the movie Dreamkeeper. And this is the Big Dipper. If you can see it here, there's it looks like little crosses, but it's the Big Dipper. And then the story, there's buffalo in it. So I beaded the buffalo. And then if you go around, the girl, she is sitting here on a buffalo robe, and she has a dream about brothers, and she doesn't have any brothers. She's an only child, and so she's making moccasins. So this is the buffalo robe and the moccasins, and she's sitting there beading, and that's like bluebirds around her. And then she leaves her parents' home, which is symbolized by teepees. She leaves her parents' home, and then goes to her brother's home. So that's why I put teepees in there. She's making a journey, and then she comes around, and because she can quill and do different types of art, the Buffalo Nation wants her to live with them. So they keep going to the brother's teepee in the middle there, and they want her to live with them, and she won't. And so one of the younger brothers, the youngest brother, he takes an arrow and he shoots it into the tree, and the tree grows and grows. And so that's the tree growing, and they climb the tree, and then the buffalo are coming and they're hitting the tree, and the tree's gonna fall. So then they say, well, if we jump, we'll live forever. And so they jump, and then they become the Big Dipper. And so that's the story I beaded on there. When people come to me and ask for help, I'll guide them with what I'm able to at that time. One of our daughter does quilt work. Another daughter, Shinoa beads. Arizona is beading too. She just did her own beaded moccasins and wore them in the fall at a powwow. And so that was really nice to see, because it takes a lot of patience and dedication and time and problem solving and figuring out the design and analyzing it and everything and getting prepared. And so I was really happy when she finished that. She does the breastplates as well too. I would like to eventually teach them how to do quill work so they can carry that on. As a Iyithka woman, it's my responsibility to do that, to clothe my family, to make sure they look nice and that they're taken care of, and that they know their identity, their traditions, and our stories. We tell our stories through our beadwork and through what we sew and make with skirts. It's a reclaiming our indigeneity, or as women reclaiming our role because there's been so much historical impacts to women It's really about reclaiming that, recapturing that spirit that may not have been treated so good in the past, and to carry that forward so that my daughters will know they can wear ribbon skirts, and also to educate others, allies, to understand that we had a lot that was taken from us, but we still have a lot resilience to give and share, and we're willing to share that knowledge, and so that they have understand and just more compassionate people. But ultimately my responsibility as a Inkushin, a grandmother, to my grandchildren to live and to teach these things. With art, we tell our history in that. If you look, there's so many ways that you can see a people's history, whether it's the teepees, the designs, the beadwork, the sewing, even the paintings on rock stone formations that you see, or stories about the water, about that area, that place name. And within art, we capture that, whether it's through the songs that we sing that are talking about maybe a battle or something that happened. And it's through the ceremonies that we perform, because a lot of the ceremonies are land-based, that we need certain things like ground, access to the land, the water, fire, air, and just those things. When you think about it, it's like we are telling a story through that lifetime, and we'll all have a different journey to tell. This is a rock we got when we traveled up last year to the Yukon for workshops, and you can't always find these everywhere. So when we see this, then we'll make an offering, and then when we do that offering and explain what we're using it for, that it's for workshops or making regalia, and so that when you take it from that place, that they know it's, the land knows it's being used in a good way, in a way to help others. It's within art that we can tell our story, that we can show our thought patterns, our concepts, our ideologies, our paradigms. It's a way of looking at in a physical way, and not so much a cognitive or mental way of reading a book. But with art, we can tell that story and that journey of making that artwork, that beadwork or that quill work, harvesting those items and how we were doing at that time, or even the season. We can put it to that and speak to that. And within that spirit of the beadwork or sewing, it may take its own spirit in being created how it is. And I've had that many times. I'll start beading something and I'm not too sure, and then it'll take on a formation, a spirit of its own, and it will create in that way.
When I had my son, with my beautiful late wife, she really wanted dancing when he was 4. So he told his mom, make me an outfit. I want to dance grass dance. So he made him outfit. He started dancing in a celebration powwow. And as he grew up, age go up, she made, and I designed the colors, and we both worked together. We make outfit for him.
I think today, because that's why my dad and my mom, they passed the grass dance, so I can use it every day to help the people, so they can understand some words, so they can come back somewhat.
Indigenous art is a way for us to say who we are, say what we do, and how we continue to live in this time, and how we identify ourselves with our designs, our clothing, how we wear it, the songs we sing, the way we make our art. So it's just a part of who we are as a person. In our language, we say nari, which is spirit. And so art is very much entwined into our spirit, into our nari. And there's so many different rites of passages and things that one person would do, and not everybody does that or has that gift. And so then it started a trade, a way of knowing who was who, and everybody in the community would know that they have that gift and carry it. And so art form is evolving. It has a different trajectory from what it had before. It can be what you want it to be, but it can also be a sign of resistance, an act of resistance.
When we're